Welcome to the Empowered Team podcast. I am your host, Kari Schneider, and today is all about action. Let's go. Today I'm going to give you the 3 questions. This is our series in our Inner Game series, Questions for Power, Questions for Purpose. I'm going to give you 3 questions to get you into action. Oh, this is where it's at. Action. Oh my goodness. Knowing is not doing, everybody. So we may be able to pause. We may be able to become really clear and really aware, but if we don't take action, we're never going to get to where we want to go. And sometimes we feel stuck. Action is the solution. Action is the thing that's going to get you to your outcomes and your results. And it is the thing that will get you out of stuck. So let's go. Let's do this. All right. Most people, they don't fail because they don't know what to do. You think of all the people who know that they need to exercise or eat better or take more action in their marketing and their business. It's not that they don't know what to do. It's that they're not doing the thing consistently. So the biggest outcome killer is inconsistent execution. So if we know this, it doesn't matter if we know this. How the heck do we take action when we've found it difficult to? How the heck do we take action when we've been stuck? How do we take action when we're not sure what action to do? So this is what we want to tackle today. 3 questions that are going to help you take action when it might be harder or you've struggled. All right? Pause, give up the space. That's when we ask the 3 questions to pause. Sometimes we need that space because we're being impulsive. We're being reactive. We're mistaking all this reaction for the real action that we want. So we needed to pause. And reaction is not the kind of action we want for our outcomes. It's not going to work long term. And it's typically not going to yield the greatest results that we really want. So we learned the questions for pause. Then we learned the questions for change. Because typically, if we're looking for an outcome, it's something we've either never done before or haven't done in a long time, or it's something that stretches us further than we've ever done. So we need to be able to have some questions that really have our brain embrace change. So we looked at those 3 questions on our last episode, 3 questions for change. Now we're going into the questions for action. So I'm assuming here that if you've paused and you really are able to put the brakes on something you don't want to do, and you've embraced change, you know that you're looking to transform kind of the situation or the actions that you've been in. Now we're going into how do we get more action happening? How does this happen? Okay, so why does action break down? First of all, action typically breaks down because if we're looking for motivation is on and off. It's here and there. Sometimes you feel motivated, sometimes you don't. It's unreliable. And then if we look at something like willpower is finite. We only have so much push and grind and drive. It's really depleting in our energy. So if we know that motivation is unreliable and we know that willpower is finite, then what are we going to do for more action, especially when life is throwing in curveballs? Life is going to throw in something that creates more friction for the action that you want to do. Well, we're going to be armed with 3 questions. And these 3 questions are going to help you make it as easy as possible to take the action. Now, oftentimes we set ourselves up for actions that are going to be so over the top that it would take a mountain of willpower and a world of motivation in order to get you into it because it seems so colossal. So we want to make it better, make it easier, make it simpler for moving forward. And that, my friends, is critical for consistency with your action. And I promise you that it's going to be the consistency that's critical to get the outcomes you want. Doing a big action here and there isn't going to make it. But that consistency in your actions is going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, I'm going to give you an example here. I am an action taker. I take a lot of consistent actions. There's a lot of things that has yielded in my life, whether it's health, whether it's whether it's fitness, whether it's business consistency, whether it's growth, whether it's starting something new in a business, there have been a lot of great yields. However, there's certain little things that I'm thinking to myself, what the heck? I am an expert in taking action. I am great at consistency. How come this one little thing that I'm trying to introduce is so hard? And it could be something so simple like I'm great with my clients, really consistent, great with my business in so many ways, but you think I can post on social media on a consistent basis? No, it doesn't really matter to me. But something that does matter to me is my health even more. So I look at that, I go, I know that creatine is a good thing. I want to introduce creatine more consistently. I've taken creatine for probably 2 decades before people really knew that it was a thing to do. However, in my creatine taking, I haven't had the consistency that I've really wanted in taking creatine. And I want to take it daily, especially for my age, especially the autoimmune illness that I had. I want creatine daily. And then I find that I'm taking it once a week. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, 3 times a week. And then the next week, I haven't taken it at all. And I look at this, I take my vitamins every day. I drink lots of water every day. I have salads every day, vegetables, lots of protein every day. So what is it about this little thing that I have such a hard time introducing? That is the example I'm going to use for you today so that you can see this. You've got this somewhere in your life, that thing that you know that you're so much more capable than your actions are showing on this little thing that you're trying to take action on, or this big thing you're trying to take action on. You know you can do it. You're aware. You've got all the information. The evidence is there. And yet, what the heck? Why am I not taking the action? What is actually going on? So this is question number 1. What we want to do is we want to reduce the resistance. We don't want it to be hard. The right questions don't increase effort. The right questions reduce the resistance. So that's exactly what we're going to do with these questions. And the first one is exactly that. The first one is all about what is the next easiest step? What's the next easiest step? We want to make it easy. And yet, sometimes we have this bias, this false narrative that says, well, if my outcome is so important to me, the actions are probably going to be hard, which is total BS. The outcomes can be fabulous and huge and amazing. The actions don't have to be that hard. Now, sometimes some actions are going to be hard. That's the way life works. But what if we just start with the really easy ones? What if we create consistency with the really, really easy ones? So the first question is all about what is the next easiest step? And I gave you my example for creatine. The next easiest step, well, it's a little scoop and putting it in my water. I thought, well, what can I do? And I tried that and it wasn't working. What do I do? I think that's so easy. Well, how can it be even easier? That's the question. How can it be even easier? And then I thought about it and I was like, well, if I made it even easier, I would be putting it into, I don't know, maybe my glass ahead of time. I'm looking for ways to make it even easier. I'm leaving it out on the counter. I'm setting an alarm maybe. Something that's not making me have to think about it so that if I don't have to decide on it, I don't have to think about it, then maybe it's a lot easier. Any of those things could be a way to make it so much easier in the example that I've given, but for you, it might be something different. What is that? What shrinks it into something so manageable? I know someone who wanted to run more and they just weren't. So they kept shrinking it down to the easiest thing. They're like, I just have to run for 3 minutes outside. That's all. And they'd go out and they'd run for 3 minutes. Now, inevitably, once you've gotten over 3 minutes, you're like, I could probably run 4 minutes. But that's exactly how I got back into running, coming from an illness where I could barely walk. It was, I went out and I just tried to walk for a little bit. And then when I started trying to run, I ran for 1 minute. That was the easiest step. And when I started posting on social media for my business, I started posting once whenever I felt like it because I wanted to love it. Something so easy. It has to be easy and really doable in order for you to start the process, the path to consistency. So what is the next easiest step? And what this does, and this is where the science comes in that I really like, it bypasses perfection. If it bypasses perfection, you don't have your brain pausing and having you go, it's not good enough. It has to be this way. Why are you doing like that? Doesn't matter. We're just going for the easiest step. That's the goal right now. That's all. And that's how you can manage your brain, manage the perfectionism, especially when you are typically a really high performer. Sometimes easy is not in your language. We want to make it easy. Easy is going to be part of this process. And the beautiful thing is not only does it get rid of the perfection and shrinks it into something more manageable, it also gets your ass in gear, gets you started, gets you doing just something little. Now, some of us are going to go and beat ourselves up because it's not enough, or that wasn't good enough, or that wasn't as much as we wanted. We're just going to set that aside. That voice is going to be there occasionally. That's okay. We're going to allow that voice to blah, blah, blah every once in a while. You can even put a funny voice over it like, wah, wah, wah. That voice is probably going to be there, especially if you've been someone who's pushed yourself really hard. That's not the goal right now. We're just doing something easy, and that's okay. And that's how you can respond to that voice that's giving you a hard time. So it might be something in the health realm, like running for 1 minute, or let's make it easier, because if that seems daunting, because it might, some days it really might, it's just putting on your shoes. Putting on your shoes. I had my workout gear set out the night before, all of it, because if I miss something like socks or underwear, sometimes that can hold me back. And I work out every day, and most people just think it's easy for you. You have that thing in your body that makes you want to do it all the time. Like, no. I do not want to get out of bed and go and work out. Barely ever do I desire doing that. So I have to make it easier for myself. Sometimes it's just putting on the shoes. Sometimes it's just I got into the gym. That's all. And somehow I end up working out every day because my shoes were there. I got into the gym. In leadership, you look at this in business and leadership, and you have to write a big proposal. You have to send a report. You're going to start with the first 2 bullet points. That might be the easiest first step. If it's in a relationship, it might just be sending the text to ask to talk. Or it might be sending a voice message, just saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. I used to set an alarm on my phone at different times of the day to remind myself to give affection to my husband, because I knew it was important to him and I wanted that too. But life was so busy. It was the household. There were so many kids. There was sports we were running the business. I had my brain, my body pulled in so many different directions. The last thing I was remembering was to just a nice gesture, a really affectionate gesture to my husband. So I'd set an alarm. And those could be the things that it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be impressive. It just needs to begin. And the way to begin is make it so smooth, so easy to transition into some little action. That's what we want to do initially. So that's number 1. What is the next easiest step? And number 2 is it's going to support you too, even though some of us want to avoid this kind of question a lot of the time, is what could stop me? Well, if I give you the creatine example again, I don't even know what was stopping me, but then I realized, I don't know if I really think about this. I know what was stopping me. At one point, I ran out of creatine. At another point, I didn't want to put it in my water glass because then it's kind of powdery. I wanted a separate water glass. There's just these ridiculous little things that were stopping me, or just plain forget. And that's where alarms come in. I love alarms at this point. This is my alarm for this. This is my alarm for that, because I don't want to have to try and remember. It can just remind me. There we go. So if you know what can stop you, and I just listed those for the example of an alarm to give affection, I knew what was stopping me give affection. It's not that I didn't want to give my husband affection. It was that there were so many things pulling me in so many different directions. And so I wanted to find a solution. So if you know what can stop you, then that gives you some of the answers for making the next step so easy, making the first step as easy as possible. So here's what happens. When you are asking this, sometimes people think, well, I don't want to focus on what's going to stop me. I only want to focus on getting me where I want to go. That's all I'm going to focus on. But the problem with that focus is that then we become so surprised when something goes the way we don't want it to that we get a little derailed. And we don't want to become derailed. We don't need to become derailed. So when we ask this question, what could stop me? It prevents that derailment. It prevents the surprises that could derail you. If you have an awareness of what could stop you, it normalizes that there's going to be an obstacle. If we keep telling ourselves that if we're just in action or we're just motivated and then we're going to go through, it's all going to be good, we're going to get the result that we want. It's almost like we're living in a fairy tale. But if we actually go, you know what? I think that if I wanted to run every day, the weather might be an obstacle. And we're realistic about it. Then we go, oh, that's okay. Now I know that the weather is one of the obstacles that I'm facing. And if that's the case, I've got my gear. I got my raincoat. I'm still going to go out to run, or at least I'll walk, or I've got a treadmill available to me, or I'll go to the gym. But as long as you can visualize how you would handle the obstacle in your mind, you've already overcome it. Then it makes it easier for you to overcome it in the physical world if that particular obstacle happens. How great is that? You've just done yourself a service by going, what could those things be that would stop me in this thing I really, really want? I'm going to support myself in that. Really, really cool thing. So here's what happens. I could get tired. I could be distracted. I could have something urgent come up that's more important. Well, for me with the creatine, I'm looking at that going, well, maybe those things stop me, but not so much in that context. It's running out of creatine. It's forgetting. It's not having it in the right sequence of my step-by-step morning routine. Those are going to be the things that stop me. So if I know that, that's going to help me with actually taking the next easiest step and getting the action done the way I want it to. Now, the follow-up prompt, I've already told you really, but I want to highlight it. It's that if this obstacle happens, what would I do? That's the key little bonus here is that, what would I do if it rained? What would I do if I ran out of creatine? What would I do if I was super distracted or so exhausted? What would I do? What's my bare minimum? What would I do? And that helps you get through it. It's not pessimism. It's strategy, baby. It is strategy. Okay. Then we look at why is this so important? It's because people who anticipate obstacles, this is what the science shows, people who anticipate obstacles are more resilient. They're mentally prepared. That's what happens when you're looking at this obstacle. The other thing that happens is that when you've pre-planned for something that could go wrong, you've pre-planned and it reduces dropout. It's going to make it less likely for you to just quit on yourself, quit on the outcome that you're going for. And then the last one is that one missed action is less likely to then become an abandonment of actions because the friction, you've already understood what the friction is going to be. It's expected. In fact, you're going to go, oh, of course, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. And you realize it's normal. You expect that friction. So if it happens and you actually miss the action that you want to take, you're not as likely to just throw it all out and quit. So that's what the research shows. That's why you want to do it. So we've got number 1, what is the next easiest step? Number 2, what could stop me? And this brings us to number 3. And it's one that I think we miss too often. And I've put a whole bunch of words in here, but what you're really remembering is you're remembering the when, the where, the how, the who. When, the where, the how, the who. Because we want those to make it repeatable. Remember, consistency is going to be the key for your action to make it to an outcome. It's not just a one-off action. Otherwise, then you're not likely to get to the outcome. So it's the when, the when, the where, the who, the how. If you know those things, they're going to support you to make it repeatable. Now, I don't really need a who for taking creatine. I don't really need a a who to partner with me and do it with me. Now I could have an accountability buddy. But what I have already is a morning routine. I have rituals within my morning. I take vitamins every morning. I drink water every morning. I eat breakfast every morning. I work out or be active every morning. I brush my teeth every morning. So if these things are already there, I don't have to think about them. They're going to happen. How do I fit creatine in there? And this is the thing. This was the crux that has me now, because here's the outcome. Now I take creatine every single day. I don't miss it. But it took me a long, long time. I'm talking years to get it to be daily. I've taken creatine for years, but it was never daily. Like I said, once a week, 3 times a week, not at all. Then back in, might miss it for a month. Then I got it back in. Now I take it daily. How did that happen? So in this question, when, where, how, or who how will I use those to make it easy to repeat? So what I did on this, and this was the cool thing, what I did was I looked at, well, how do I drink my water? My water is at my bed the night before. When I go to work out, I drink the majority of that water, except I usually leave a little bit in there because I have a water bottle in the gym. And because when I leave that little bit of water in there, I make sure I've got just enough to take my vitamins. See how they're all connected? It's so interesting. So when I realized that, well, I've got this little bit of water left, what if that was my cue? What if that was the thing that I used to remember to put the creatine in? And I couldn't believe how easy that made it. It made it repeatable because I already drink the water. I already have the water every night by my bed. Every morning, I take that water and I drink it. I usually leave a little bit left and don't take it all in for my vitamins. Wow, there it is right there. So there's that little bit of water. It's still sitting there when I come back from my workout. And then I know that water, I'm going to go take my vitamins. But now I'm like, oh, what do? I just plop a thing of creatine in there first. And then lo and behold, here's what I call it's a strategic byproduct. It's something that happens that was so good that I didn't expect it would happen too. I decided, well, why would I just put the creatine in there? I could put if I'm not having a smoothie and I'm just having my regular breakfast, I could just put my greens in there too, or my other supplement, or my fiber. I could pick one of them. The creatine's the thing every day, and I pick another one to put in there too. So now, because of looking for when, where, how, well, I already have a big how that's happening. What does it look like to get it in there? So that's this question is the how that I figured out within a ritual that was already there. And notice how it fits that first question that says, what's the easiest next step? The easiest step was just leaving the little bit of water in my water glass. That's all it took. That's all it took to get that silly little creatine in there. And then what happened is I got more. So then with that drink in the morning, it's not just creatine. There's always something else in there. Greens, fiber, NMN, whatever. It's all in there. So what this does is it takes something and makes it specific so that your brain doesn't get overrun with ambiguity and not knowing or whatever. It makes it specific. Is there a who that can help me? Is there a where that can help me? Doing it in a certain space. Like, for instance, if you're struggling with something within work, maybe you only work on this certain thing in a certain place in your office or your home or whatever. I know that helps me with certain types of work that I do. These things can be really, really specific, and specificity helps clarity for your brain. Complexity is going to stop action. Clarity and simplicity is going to keep you going on the action. Keep it simple. It also anchors to a time, a place, a routine, or a person. So notice how I was saying when, where, how, who. So you're anchoring something to a time, a place, a routine, or a person. And when this happens, it makes it far easier because you've already made the decision or the routine or the habit somewhere else. This is just piggybacking off of it. And then it reduces that decision fatigue because of it. And we all know that when you're a busy person, you're doing a lot of things, decision fatigue can just make you push everything away. Okay, so now you know. Examples of this could be like I gave you with the creatine, but more examples could be things like, I'll do this right after my morning coffee. I'll do this at my desk before I check my email, because you always check your email at a certain time. I will do this with my accountability buddy on Wednesdays when we check in with each other. So these are the ways that you're going to do it. And the reason that this is so key, and this is what the research shows, is that people are significantly more likely to follow through when they've pre-decided when and where an action will occur. If you look at the research that James Clear has accumulated in the book Atomic Habits, an incredible book, you look at all this research that he's put together, what that's called is an implementation intention. And that's all it is. The implementation intention is what the research shows. People are significantly more likely to follow through when they pre-decide when and where an action will occur. The other thing that happens is that the stacking the behavior, like I described with the creatine, it reduces the friction. Just that these things are already happening. It's just been inserted in the things that are already happening. Therefore, it takes no more energy. It takes no more time. It just makes it seamless. And that's the beautiful thing about lessening the friction. And then the other thing is that the environmental cues, your brain is memorizing patterns. That's all it's doing, memorizing patterns. And when you've got an environmental cue that helps the thing happen, then that outperforms motivation. You don't have to make yourself do it, will yourself do it, motivate yourself to do it. It's just there. And that environmental cue for me with the creatine was the water that was just a little bit left in the cup. And that was the cue. And it was before my vitamins, and it was after I'd drinking the water and after I'd worked out. It was just in the stack. And that environmental cue just had me seamlessly continue on with it and make it something that's daily and easy. So easy. So you don't rise to your intentions or your goals or your outcomes. You fall to your systems. So if you're in this first quarter of the year and you're realizing that some of the things you wanted to do for your goals this year, your actions this year, you're not taking the action that you need, then these 3 questions are going to save your ass. They're going to have you keep going. So use these 3 questions. So remember, what is the easiest next step? What could stop me? And what is the when, where, how, and who that can make this most repeatable, easy to repeat? These are the questions that are going to help you go towards action. Now, quick reminder, remember, we've asked the questions on pausing. Those 3 questions were, what do I really need right now? What do I want right now? What would my future self feel like if I acted on that want? It forces some pause. That's a beautiful thing for you not to be reacting or doing the actions you don't want to do. The second episode in this series was, what are the 3 best questions for change? And these were the ones that we looked at. Well, what is that outcome I really, really want? And what is the step or the action? What would be a better choice than the one I've been doing or the one I feel impulsively urging to do? And then lastly, why does this matter? Why does it matter for me to change in this realm? And not to anybody else, but to me, why does it matter? And then that brings us to today's questions, because now it's about taking action. So this series, these 9 questions, today's episode, last day's episode, last week, and the week before, these things can help you really get over that hump or that challenge or the friction that you have when you're making changes in your life to get to new outcomes. Use them. And if there's someone that you know that could use this because they're feeling stuck or unmotivated, or they've got a hard goal that they're going for and they can use any help that they can get, share this with them. Support someone that really matters to you. Keep going, keep being empowered. Use these questions, these 3 about action and the previous ones. So you've got 9 total in this series. I've got your back. Keep going, be empowered.